3 months for everything to happen, or it can take like 6 months or 8 months, depending on how much you delay it and how much it gets delayed. Because sometimes it'll definitely take them a while to place you sometimes. And sometimes it could be that they give you a date, but you have classes and you can't go to the externship during the time that they're telling you. So then you might have to go later when you have winter break or something, or summer breaks or something. So that could delay the whole process. So you want to make sure that you're on top of it.
So that
Right.
kind of makes me wonder, like, I know that it's something that you can kind of fit in around school, but the externship part, I think, is kind of hard too, right? Because they want you to be there Monday through Friday. So
Yeah.
so how did you guys like schedule that for yourselves to fit around classes at San Jose State?
I actually I emailed them and we had a few emails back. The person emailing me was a part of my program thing. They were really, really nice, but they were like, we cannot the people that we partnered with, we have like it's like 400 different schools or like 400 different like clinics, hospitals, whatever that they're partnered with to do your externship. And all of them have a contract and it has to be from either 8 to 4 or 9 to 5. That's like non-negotiable. And if you did want to do it like outside of those hours, you would have to find your own externship. So,
So the way that I was able to do it, I did do my class in summer, so like June basically, and finished my exam and stuff. And I sent them the paperwork, and I was hoping to do my externship before August, before classes started. But by the like there was a delay. Like I took a while in giving them stuff, and then by the time they responded back, they had an opening for October, but I had classes, so I couldn't do it, and it got pushed back to December, so winter break. And then I did my 1 week in December, and then after that, I applied for licensing. So it did get delayed a couple months for me, but basically, like you want to try to do it in summer or winter break when you know you will have 1 or 2 or 3 weeks open, depending on what program you're in.
Yeah, that sounds like really good advice. So let's see here. Okay, so I just have a couple of local training programs listed here. So the community colleges are De Anza and Cabrillo that I know for sure offer them. They're also going to be on that list that California Department of Public Health has posted on their website. There's also Bama, Bay Area Medical Academy. I don't think any of us went there, but you guys both went to phlebotomy training specialists. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think there's other members in the club that have gone to Bama, so I know they've talked about like their prices and scheduling, but the only issue with Bama is they don't have the info on the website, so you usually have to call them and they'll tell you what their dates are for like their next class and what the price is and everything. So in terms of like just seeing it on a website, it's a little bit harder, which is why when I first like knew about it, I knew about Bama, but I didn't have that information about how much would it cost, what would be the days, what would be the times, like what do I need and all that stuff. So I wasn't able to deal with them. But PTS actually has everything on their website. So like what dates, what the classes are, and what documentation you'll need and how much it'll be and everything. So I ended up doing it with them.
definitely chose them because it was convenient. The way they format everything and have everything available immediately, it was very convenient.
So
Yeah.
can you talk like a little bit about the structure of like your day, like doing the class there? Like, what is it like? Are you going to a brick and mortar location? How many other students are in the class? For like your particular course, times that you had, was that split between practice and the didactic stuff, or how was that?
So Megan, do you want to go first or do you want me to?
Yeah, I can go first. So I took it during the school year this semester. It was from 6 to 10 p.m. and it was brutal. I would never recommend anyone to go to school for be on campus for 8 hours and then go to the training. I definitely like wasn't able to study for tests because of that. But when I got there on the first day, we only did lecture material. There were about 20 people. And then the next day we did some lecture material, immediately started drawing. We were tying tourniquets, which is like the rubber band that you put around someone's arm to like, get the veins to pop. And then yeah, start drawing. A little bit of lecture here and there, but most of the hours during that 10 days, it was like 4 hours a day for 10 days, 4 days for 2 weeks, and then 2 days for another week. And yeah, it was very, very fast paced for me.
Yeah, so I guess Megan did the evening course, and then they also have the day courses, which is like Monday to Thursday, but it's 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So if you're doing it in the summer or winter break, then you can just do like 10 days of that in the morning time. But I actually did the weekend courses, which is I think it's like six weeks or so, but it's about like the same amount of time because in the Monday to Friday courses they have you do 4 hours every day. But on the weekend one, I think it's like double that, about like 8 hours or something, 8 to 4. So yeah, about like 8 hours or so. But sometimes like for me at least, we did get out like an hour or so earlier. And the way it was, I think, like every Saturday, and then for half the time we would do the lecture material and like go through the textbook, and then that rest of the half of the class for like the rest of like the 3 4 hours we would just do blood draws and tourniquets and practicing that and making sure we got like the draws that we needed. Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to ask what made you guys want to do phlebotomy?
Oh, like my entire reasoning behind it was because I work at a hospital right now. I work at Stanford in radiology, which to me was like good experience. Like I'm in a hospital, I'm with patients and stuff, but it's like radiology. It's like almost not, I wouldn't say completely irrelevant, but just not in the same branch as CLS. And then right now I also do research lab in Dr. Scarvin's lab, which is bacteria, which is relevant, but it doesn't have to do with like hospitals or patients. So I wanted to like merge that together and have that phlebotomy experience. Because I know it gets me more points on the CLS, but just because like you do get that lab work plus clinical stuff together.
Yeah, that kind of reminded me, Elia, before you answer, I just wanted to add,
Mhm.
that during the like training, you don't really, I felt like personally, I didn't really get to do or practice those things that really make phlebotomy connected to clinical lab science. But as soon as you get in there, then they start asking you to, okay, you need to prepare this for testing, go ahead and run this wave test. I need you to aliquot all these, and you get to really just use your lab skills. So yeah, I just wanted to add that. I guess it depends on the program though. But how about you, Alia?
Um, so I wanted to do phlebotomy because it was like a good foot in the door kind of field, or like job to get into and like get exposure to like patient care and like the hospital environment and stuff. And then in comparison to like EMT programs and medical assistant programs, I felt like it was quicker in terms of timeline. And I think there was a bit of price difference, but I think it depends like what programs you're looking at. Sometimes they'll have medical assisting ones with phlebotomy. But for me, honestly, it was the fact that it was like a bit quicker and faster to get through it. And I would still be able to like work with patients and stuff. And I think going in, I was a little bit nervous about the fact that I'd have to like poke needles into myself and each other. But once I got there, like after the first day, it was pretty straightforward, and not too much to worry about. And then, when it comes to like the lab skills, in our training, we didn't really do too much. She just told us about like vortexing the vials and like basic stuff like that, and just told us about like the things you would end up doing in a lab area. But when we were doing our externship, which was at a research clinic, they did have us like vortex them and then pipette the serum and plasma and stuff from the test tubes. So we did get a little bit of that. But I think it also ultimately depends where you end up working. Because if you're working like at a hospital or more of a lab area, you will get more of those like lab procedures that you'll have to do and use those skills. But if you're not, then you'll mostly be doing just like blood draws and collecting specimens and just delivering them to the labs, and then they will be doing that portion. So yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to share this. So you guys both went to PTS, and Megan shared with us the master course instructions from PTS. So if you're interested, this would be really good to check out. Don't you think, Megan? What kind of info is in this?
Right. So in this, it's almost like a pamphlet, like it's a thick amount of paper. It has like step-by-step instructions, like how to get, like what happens after your didactic hours. So how to get your externship, what exactly you need, how long it'll take, like it has everything outlined. You every question that you possibly might have would be in there. And like if you were even like phone numbers, like specific contacts, like if you need your transcript for some specific things. Like I know applying for the CPT license, like you need your high school transcript, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, and it tells you like, oh, this is where you deliver it. This is what to do with your transcript. Like everything is clearly outlined so that you have no questions.
Yeah, and it can be like kind of a confusing process to get all the paperwork together. So going to a program that specializes in phlebotomy training is nice as well, because they are doing this all day, every day, and their organization is bulletproof. And I think that makes it for you as a student going through that just a lot easier and less stressful. I will say that the program I went through at Cabrillo was unfortunately super disorganized, although it was great. But that aspect of it made it really a lot more challenging to figure out what do I have to submit to get my license, and not having to figure out all those details on your own is really nice. So having this just laid out for you super clear is awesome. That's really cool that they do that for you guys.
It's literally like a to-do list of like, do this first, and after you have this, go and do that. So I pulled mine up and I see that like I had like check marks for every page that like, okay, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. So it's pretty nice to have that.
I wanted to add too that we'll share a link for this presentation at the end so that you can go back and click on the links within the presentation so you can access this yourself as well and check it out. So another thing that most programs want, at least in my experience, before you begin your externship is just a health screening to make sure they're not bringing someone in who could, as you said, like be a danger to patients or carry any type of pathogen, pass it to immunocompromised patients or children, right? So there's quite a few things that are part of the health screen, and these are the ones that I had mentioned before. Some programs want you to have proof of immunity for those beforehand. But how about for you guys? Were these the things that you had to do before your externship, or were they different?
I honestly don't remember if they asked for that for the externship.
Depends if you do go into a research thing. Mine's like I also a research clinic, so I think the requirements were less.
Yeah, so I think it probably depends on where you're doing your externship. Some places might be stricter than others. But once you get into the field, I feel like they would require that once you're working with patients and stuff, because they want to make sure that you're protected. And in case you have like a finger prick or anything, you don't get the diseases.
Yeah, and some of them you may also just want, because you'll be in really close contact with a lot of patients, you're getting very close to them. If they have something like flu, the chance that you can get it is a lot higher than if you're just walking through a space like a grocery store with someone with the flu in it. So also good to just protect yourself.
Right, and I shared an experience with you before when I was in an isolation room.
Yeah.
Patient was
Oh,
on
that's a
a
good
bed.
story.
like with oxygen and all kind of IVs, and I was about to do the draw. I had a mask on and my gown and everything. But as I looked down to check his vein, the patient coughs right into my face, and I could feel it like go right through the mask. And I got sick, not as sick as him, and probably because I got my vaccinations and I'm on top of it. So yeah, that would be a very helpful thing to check on. Like Martine said, just make sure you got all your immunizations, because that comes in handy in situations like this where you are in contact with these type of patients, and yeah, you get that protection that you need.
So we kind of already touched on this, but just some of the things that they would cover in the in-class training would include what kind of equipment you need to use and when to use it, the order of draw. Super, super important, and they're definitely going to drill that into your head. Do you want to explain a little bit about what that is? Do you want to explain?
I can do it. So it's basically like if someone has like a bunch of lab tests that they need to do, they're gonna collect your blood in a bunch of separate vials that are colored differently. So you need to be able to know that if they're having like a CBC and like I can't remember all the tests right now, but if they have like a bunch of different tests that they need to do, what tubes you need to use for them and in what order you need to collect their blood for each vial. And that's very important because you want to make sure that you're not contaminating anything, because the tubes usually have serums or solutions in them already sometimes. So it's important to follow that order. Yeah.
You did your homework. That's why you passed your test.
What other kind of stuff did you guys have to go over in your class? I know for mine, we did really basic anatomy, but focusing on the anatomy of like where you would draw blood. What do the veins look like in that area? We covered that a lot. What other kind of stuff?
I think like also they talked about like if you're doing like the glucose testing and how like there's time limits for that. So sometimes if you're like testing a diabetic patient and testing for sugar levels, you have to really be careful and watch their like you give them a liquid to drink and then you have to take their blood at certain intervals. So you have to be careful of that. And also like how to manage like a patient load. Like if you have patients that are you have to get their blood in a timely fashion, and then there's like regular patients that are just coming in for a blood test. You want to be careful and balance that carefully. And then I think we also talked about like doing like baby like foot pricks and stuff like that. And a lot of like safety procedures, and organizations that have the standards for lab work and blood work and stuff like that. So yeah, but nothing too difficult, nothing too crazy.
Right. And those are all on the test, by the way. So
Yes.
So mostly the skills that you need to know to perform the job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you said all of those questions are in the exam. Yeah, what I remember when I was taking the exam, it was a while ago, but I remember that I felt like most of the questions were mostly common sense too. So there was answers that are similar, like you have like 4 choices and they sound similar, but if you just read the question and you just use common sense, you can figure out which one's correct.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. A lot of it was, just what you would do if you're trying to be safe at
Right,
all.
exactly.
So nothing too complex, as you said. Let's see. Yeah, a little bit of medical terminology in there for sure. You definitely see that come up in lab. Like what are the acronyms for certain tests that are super common? Really helpful to know those in case somebody is rattling off, all the tests they are going to need you to draw blood for. it's really important to have those down pat, but it's not too much. And then just basic specimen processing. Also, I just want to add, they do include how to process specimens other than blood. So we do
Mhm.
a lot of urine collection, stool collection as well. I don't see a ton of like sputum collection or CSF, cerebrospinal fluid or anything like that. But I don't work at a hospital, but all those things are up for grabs, up for grabs for phlebotomists. So yeah, we get all the fluids and all the bodily fluids.
Yeah, and you
It's
just
great.
gotta block your mind not to think about what it is, and just deal with it.
Okay. So for the externship, I just wanted to elaborate on that a little bit more. There's tons of different places that you could end up doing your externship. Megan, you said that there were 400 clinical sites associated with your guys' training program. So that just gives you a little insight into all the different places you could do it. Just to start off, I'll share that I did mine at a pretty busy outpatient lab, so patients were able to get there on their own. It was not bedside draws, but also that's a possibility. Your location could be a hospital and you're expected to be there at 4 a.m. and do the early morning first draws. How about for you guys? Where did you do yours?
Mine was in St. Mary's Hospital in San Francisco, and I lived in the Bay Area, East Bay. So I had to catch the BART like at 3 or 4 in the morning to
Wow.
be there by 6 o'clock. I think 4, because I had to catch a bus. It was so far. So the BART would drop me off, then I would catch a bus and it would like go to the end of San
You were
Francisco.
committed.
Yeah. Yeah, I would come home like so tired. I sleep so early so I can get up the next day so early because we did the 8-hour shift. It was an outpatient in the hospital. Yeah, but which opened so that early at 6 o'clock, and we had to be there at the start of the shift until closing.
I think for hours, most of the places were supposed to be like from 8 to 5 externship. So mine was, and it wasn't too far from our house, just like a 30 minute drive in the morning. So nothing too crazy. And it was a research lab, so not too busy.
Yeah, I have a coworker who did hers at a family practice office, and she said it was really pretty quiet. It wasn't like she was drawing 40 patients a day. It was 3 or 4. So really nice slow pace for a student. And she had a different experience. She shadowed an MA at first, just for the first day. And then she was totally on her own. So no other phlebotomists were there with her. And she could pass it off to the medical assistant if she was having trouble. But yeah, some places will just have you be really, really independent. Others, you are surrounded by 10 other phlebotomists. So it's a really broad range of places I think that you could end up doing your externship. So I mentioned before, the placement could be 40 to 120 hours. Most will just be 40 just for 1 week, Monday through Friday. And yeah, you will definitely make mistakes, and that is totally okay. You won't kill anyone. And most patients, I think in my experience, were excited to like have a little bit more attention and have a student working with them, and they were great. They'd be like, oh, well, you got to get me on my good vein right here. Go ahead. I know you can do this. And they'd root for you. And most people were really nice. They're, it's not like 100% sweet experience. There's sometimes people who are really they can get upset at you, they could say like, hey, like I'm having a really bad day. I just don't want to talk. I don't want you to draw my blood. Or maybe you start and you try and you don't get it the first time and they just say, have someone else try. But that's just part of it. And you just pass it off to someone else and let it roll off your back. But yeah.
And this still happens even after. Doesn't matter how long of experience you have, there's still some days that you just have a day like this where you just like can't get a patient and you just
Yeah,
have
sometimes you do have like really tough patients. I remember during my externship, we did have one person come in and we had like I think two nurses, like two nurses or MAs, and then like two other like supervisors, and I think we tried like quite a few times, but we weren't able to draw her blood, and she was just a hard poke. So sometimes that happens, and that's totally fine.
when the patient know that they're a tough stick too, they don't get
Yeah,
upset with you.
yeah,
They're
they're usually aware.
can be challenging.
And like if you're nervous, me and Alia's program, they let you come in for free during any of their sessions to practice. So like if let's say like your externships in a month, you can go as many times as you want for free because you
Before
already paid, and you can practice on like whoever lets
the
you.
other students
Uh,
in that next
yeah.
batch of class, basically.
That's nice. I
Yeah.
didn't
So
have
you
that.
get a lot of experience
That's
like
really
with different
nice.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your program sounds good. I should have gone there.
Yeah, I don't think that existed.
Yeah, but
Nice.
this is nice because now like more people will know about it.
Definitely, definitely. Let's see what else. Oh yeah. So I think this is really great to share. How do you, once you have your license, how do you get your first job? So I think Huda has really good insight on this one. I I I don't have as good of insight as her on this question, so I'm going to pass this off to you, Huda.
Well, just based on my experience when I got my license, it took me a few months before I got my first job. I applied like everywhere, every job posting that I saw, I applied to, and it's always rejected. You don't have enough experience. Sometimes you don't even get an interview. But what I found was helpful. My first job was a mobile examiner, and there's a lot of these jobs. Like there's different companies that do this. If you just check Indeed or one of the job postings websites, you can find a bunch of these, and I think this is a great start because you can gain a lot of experience with these, and they don't require you to have experience to do these kind of jobs. So basically, as a mobile examiner, you do the draws for insurance purposes. So these companies have contracts with companies or just with insurance agents where they would send you to a patient. So you go to their home, take their height, weight, and get their blood. You would take it home, spin it, aliquot, and ship it. And all of this is provided to you, the centrifuge and the equipments. They would actually send you a box. You would request the amount of needles or hubs or the things that you need to do the draw, and they would ship that to your house. So you actually don't even have to go to a location to pick this up, especially the one that I worked with at the time was in Redwood City and I was in the Bay. So they would just ship me what I needed. The other option for this company is if you do not feel okay going to people's homes where in the beginning, I didn't know that I could say no. I did not want to go to somebody's house, but you're actually a contractor. So you can pick your hours, you can pick the days you want to work, where do you want to work, the city and everything. So I started narrowing. I used to go everywhere, Oakland, San Francisco, but just to, I wanted a job. So I was doing it all. But later as I got experience, I said that I just want to do the events where they would send us to big companies like Nordstrom or Home Depot or a location like this. And you would set up there and you just draw the employees. And each event, and actually those paid better too. Sometimes it's only half a day, sometimes it's an 11-hour shift, sometimes you do it by yourself because there isn't that many people that you need to draw, so you'll be there by yourself. Sometimes you'll have a group if it's a big place like Home Depot. I think there had to be like 4 or 5 of us, and we would just set up these stations and yeah, do the draws, also height and weight and all this for insurance purposes for their company too. So yeah, I think this was a really, really great start that gave me like that experience, that 100 draws. I had way more than 100. And once I started applying after gaining that experience, then it was a lot easier getting a job like where I wanted to work after this.
Yeah, I think that's such an important point because yeah, it's a hard leap to make. So many places are looking for people with experience. So if any place will offer you a position, I would say just jump
take
on
it.
that. Even if you're only there for 6 months, that will give you enough experience. If it's not the place you've been really hoping to be at, see if you can just ride it out for 6 months so that you can use that to go on and apply it to the place where you would prefer to work. It's a common experience with phlebotomists. Some people have said that they applied to full-time positions and didn't have as much luck, or even part-time, and sometimes per diem may be easier to get because you're not there all day every day. So they're only going to need to rely on you a little bit, and they're not going to feel as apprehensive throwing in a newbie into the mix as they would if they're going to need you to rely on you heavily. So that could be something to consider when you're looking at postings. So once you have experience, or even when you're first applying, I guess it's good to consider like what is it you're looking for, that you're trying to get from this experience. Do you really, really want to be in a hospital so that you can go on and talk about how you had that experience as a phlebotomist in a hospital? Do you really want to be with a certain patient population? Maybe you want to work with children. Maybe you would prefer to work with oncology patients, so that you get exposure to the things that are going on around those type of patients. Or do you want to be working alongside CLSs? That's a good consideration too, because with a place like Quest or LabCorp, there may not be a CLS on site. So if you stay there, you may not be able to get a peek into what they're doing behind the scenes. So those are things to ask yourself, I think, while you're applying. And yeah, I think it also helps, you can write about your experience in your externship for sure in a cover letter, just so that they see that, you got a lot of skill from that. And it helps kind of boost up your experience, even if you don't have a ton when you're applying.
So you do want to have just showing your resume that you have some kind of experience, because from my experience, when my supervisor is hiring somebody new, he will actually bring some of the resumes and kind of share with us to see which candidate he thinks would be a good fit. So yeah, if you don't have any experience on your resume, they're not even gonna call for that interview, especially for a hospital. But yeah, once you have that experience, then at least that gives you that chance to be invited for an interview, and then you could, do your best and show why you're doing what you're doing. Even if you don't have that much experience, if you convince the supervisors or manager who are interviewing you that you're doing this for the right reasons, and you're willing to learn, and you're willing to do your best jobs to take care of the patients, they will give you that chance. I have actually a lot of coworkers that did not have that much experience, and they were hired, and just because they did so well in the interviews where they worked. Also, I just wanted to share that another good place to have a good job at, Red Cross. They do donations, blood donations. That's a great place to start at too.
And then I would say that it definitely, like, sometimes the wording for resumes might be challenging, but there's a lot of resources online, like Monster and stuff, that will help you format your resume, even if you have no experience and you've just done the training, how to like put the skills that you've used in training onto your resume and make it seem really professional and really appealing to recruiters. And then also, like, I remember for me when I was looking for a job, I reached out to Martine for this as well. So make sure you guys really work on your resumes, and make sure it looks really good. And it's not going to be like what the Career Center sends you. Like that format is very different from what like phlebotomy recruiters are usually looking for, and especially like in the science field. Their format is a little bit different, and they're looking for those specific skills that you're going to be using in the field. Um, and then like also, I remember when I was applying to like just like all the postings separately, I didn't really get that many responses. But I think for me, what worked was using ZipRecruiter, where I basically like it basically just took my resume and shared that with a bunch of recruiters, and then they contacted me, and that's how I got my first job. Um, so like using ZipRecruiter or LinkedIn might be a lot more beneficial than applying to some jobs separately, though I would recommend you do that as well. Um, yeah, and just reach out and do some job hunting, and it shouldn't be too difficult. And usually like when you don't have too much experience, I would also recommend doing mobile examiner, because honestly as a student it's really flexible, and it's really nice that like you can just be like, okay, I'm available for like 6 hours this week or 10 hours this week, and these are the times I'm available, and then they'll fill up your slots basically. So I feel like that's really nice if your place can do that. Yeah. And then if we have, sorry,
Where are you working?
I'm working at exam one, so like
Oh,
with
that was my first job, exam one.
okay, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, mobile examiner, yeah.
Yeah.
And they have a really good like system, and really good reputation. And then if we have a bit of time, I wanted to see if we could actually just go online and show the Santa Clara phlebotomy website, so you guys can just see what it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to do that now? And then we'll come back to the last couple slides on the presentation.
Okay, do we have more slides, or is this the last one?
I think, let's see. Oh yeah, I have
Oh,
a little video of
let's
it.
let's do this.
You want to watch this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
So this is my coworker, who I asked if she could do a little demo. She's going to just really do a broad overview of the steps that are involved in a draw. And this is my arm. All right, let me know if you can't hear, okay?
All right, so first things, you set up all your equipment. Put the needle on the hub, using a butterfly needle today, but you can also use a straight needle if you want. Get our tourniquet ready. The gauze. Get your alcohol pad ready. Are we at a little red? Whatever models you want to use. We have some reds somewhere.
Had to pause it.
All right, so we got the arm position. Gonna put on the tourniquet. Gonna make a nice little dog ear so you can easily pop it once you're done. Next, you're gonna palpate for a good vein. This patient has a great vein right here.
Oh yeah.
Gonna clear the site, clean the site up with the alcohol pad. Let it dry for a second. Chit chat with your patient. Clear your needle. You can always repalpate as long as you've made sure to clean the tip of your glove. Hold nice downward pressure so the vein doesn't roll away from the needle. And count down 1, 2, 3. All right, you got a nice splash. Fill up the tube with blood. If it's just the one tube, you can pop the tourniquet before the blood fills up the tube completely. Take off the tube, put your gauze over the needle, pull the needle out, have the patient put their finger on the gauze or hold it for them. All right, dispose of your sharps first and foremost. Wrap up the patient's arm. You are done.
So we can critique her her technique there. But yeah, that's just an overview of the steps involved. So once you have it down, it is just like muscle memory.
Yeah, you become like a robot, like not even thinking about it.
Okay, let's see a couple of photos of some relevant stuff. Let's see here. Let me minimize my.
So like the photos on the left and right is basically the order of draw. So like each test tube has the additives on some of them you can see at the bottom on the right. So you just want to be careful that you do them in the right order if you have a bunch of tests.
Yeah, definitely. So these are you want to go through it a little
Yeah,
bit?
go
Blood
ahead.
cultures, and then you have your sodium citrate used for PTs and
PT or
PTTs,
INR.
coagulation studies.
Yeah, it's okay. We don't have to go through all of them.
Okay. Yeah, there's too many, right? We'll be here all day. Blood slide, some places want you to make them, others don't, just so that the CLS can check it out under the microscope. On the bottom left is an image. It's a photo I took yesterday, actually, or Tuesday, of what the blood looked like, or the serum looked like after I spun it. So this is what's called a really lipemic specimen. Yeah, so really, really, really high triglycerides and cholesterol. And sometimes, you might notice things that a doctor doesn't have the opportunity to see. So for this particular patient, the doctor hadn't ordered any test related to triglycerides or a lipid panel. It was a different test. So that gives you the chance to add some information that the doctor might not know. And you're letting them know, hey, the result, the serum was extremely lipemic, and they're gonna see that and think, hey, maybe there's something else going on with this patient. I might need to check that out with further testing. So what we do, some people believe that phlebotomy is kind of is not such an important position, but it is. We have a lot of opportunity to step up and help patients and have a good interaction with patients. And yeah.
And just giving them that good, smooth experience, they really appreciate that. A lot of the patients that we see are really sick and they've had a hard day. And when you give them like a seamless experience, they just appreciate that, just this time of the day where they actually had something good happening.
Yeah.
And it also, I feel like I always feel like, how would I say this? It makes my day when a patient compliments or say that, oh, you did a really good job. I usually have a hard time. And like, this was like the best blood draw I've had. And it just makes you feel good about yourself and feel good about giving the patient that kind of experience.
Yeah, and it can be fun, right? Like sometimes patients really make your day just having a chat with them, and it can be fun too, not just stressful or anything like that. So
I know we're like towards the end of the time, but if I can share my screen.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me stop my share so that you can share.
Okay.
Are you able to share your screen, or do I need to change the setting here?
Yeah, I think I need permission to share.
Okay, let's see. Okay, that should work now.
Okay, yeah, got it. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So yeah, so Santa Clara phlebotomy training specialist. And this is an actual like office building, as you guys can see here, where the class happens. And then this is their website. So you see they have like 3 different types of course offerings right here. So 10 classes or 5 classes that are longer, and it's pretty quick, right? So within like 2 months or so, you're done with your didactic portion. And then they also have the payment right here, very clearly written out, like what you're paying for and everything. And it's usually going to be about this much. I don't know about Bay Area Medical Academy. I think they have different programs for like medical assisting, phlebotomy, or both, and different prices according to like when in the year it is as well. So you guys can compare those if you want to. And yeah. And then they have like their class structure and their prerequisites right here. It's a lot of, and then this is like what currently when their classes are. So if you guys are interested in doing it over winter break or even like later on, maybe in the spring, and just want to do the course and then want to do the externship in the summer, you guys can do that. And this will update every month based on like when their courses end and start again. So you have like the day courses, the evening courses from 6 to 10, and then like the weekend courses from 8 to 4:30. So yeah, it's really informative, pretty simple. And then this is their location.
That flexibility and schedule for
Yeah.
people that work or people that go to school.
Yeah. And I think they do have like other locations. If you guys live in like SoCal or something, and want to go.
I have not heard of this school before, so I'm learning about this. And when people are going to ask me where to go, I'm going to be sharing this
Yeah.
for sure.
I know.
Sponsor us.
Yeah, I didn't know about this either for the longest time, which is why I hadn't done phlebotomy. I only knew about Bay Area Medical, and someone told me about this, and I was like, this seems so much better, and like they know what they're doing. So yeah.
Had you initially found it just by Googling, or did you know someone who went through the program?
No, so I think way before when I was Googling it, I only found Bay Area Medical, and then I found someone who was coming to campus, and they were like just doing like a research study, and they were a phlebotomist, and I talked to them and they told me about it, and they told me it was only like 2,500 or something, and I was like, okay, and how quick it was, and I was like, that sounds really reasonable and really cool. And then I found out about it. So yeah.
Awesome.
Does anyone have any questions?
I missed? Yeah. Are there any questions?
Maybe not.
Do our guests have questions?
There's something in the chat. Oh yeah, I see there.
Is it all right if I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely. How's it going?
I'm good. Thank you for all the information. It's really helpful. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
One of my questions was, so once you get into your program, about the externship, they're the one that could like help provide a list of places you could go. Is that correct?
So usually they have people who have, especially for like Santa Clara PTS, they have their own list of places that they've partnered with to send students to. And then you don't really get to choose where you want to extern. They'll tell you where you're gonna go. You can ask them like, oh, I'd like to go to a hospital location or a research lab or something. But they're also trying to place a bunch of students into a bunch of locations and work with schedules. So they can take it into account, your preference, but usually they will tell you where you're gonna go.
Okay, but they'll still accommodate like your schedule. Is that correct?
No,
Not really.
like it's only 8 to 4 or 9 to 5.
Yeah,
There's like no exception.
Yeah, it's 1 week where they want you to be there for like 8 hours every day. And you do need to have 1 week. They can't break that up or anything.
There's no like
Okay.
night
Is for
hours.
the externship or the lecture?
For the externship. So yeah, that's why I was saying like do your like you can take the didactic portion and then do the exam like during the semester if you want to, and then give them the paperwork and everything and tell them that you want to do your externship in the summer where you're gonna have that 1 week.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you
I
want.
recommend like doing both your didactic hours and your externship in like the summer or winter, just like some time where you have like a full month, because like you can do this, but you don't want to do your didactic hours and then 5 months later is when you start your externship and then you lose that experience, you lose that
Yeah.
knowledge. So it's just
Okay.
better to plan
Yeah.
out
I think-
ahead.
Yeah, so like for me, I did have a bit of a gap because I did my classes in summer, but then I ended up doing my externship in the winter. So I did have a bit of a gap. And the good thing with Santa Clara PTS is that you can, because it's such a huge gap, you can always go and be like, I want to practice my draws and get a couple more. And you can tell them like, oh, I can come at nighttime or I can come on the weekend class. And then they'll let the instructor know that, okay, we're going to have another student come in and you can go and practice your draws. I didn't end up doing that, but and it turned out fine. It was okay for me, but you always have that option if you want to, like, you feel like it's been a while and you just want to get some more practice in.
Okay. That sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Did you guys want to say anything else?
I think that's an awesome resource that they allow you to do that if you're a student there. Because for me, I did the in-class portion and then COVID hit and I wasn't able to start the externship until a year plus after that. And so there was a long period of time where I had not done any draws, and it would have been so, so nice to have that option. So yeah, also for Cabrillo, they sent every student in the program to the same clinical site. So we had to rotate through there. There were only 2 of us there at once. So we basically had a
Like really long.
yeah, we had to wait our turn. So it's nice to go to a spot like PTS that's going to get you in there as soon as you're ready. Would really recommend that. But as a side note, if you do it through DeAnza, they also have an MLT program, which some people might be interested in because it relates to CLS, and you can integrate the phlebotomy training into the MLT program, and you can secure your enrollment in the MLT courses, which are in pretty high demand, I think. They have a wait list. So that could be a good reason to do that if you're interested in that. But yeah, is there anything else I missed that you guys wanted to talk about, or any other questions anyone has?
I think that might be it, but I know they can reach out. and
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I'm going to post the link to the slides on the Pre-CLS Club's Discord and the link tree on our Instagram, so it can be accessible. And
We could also share our contacts if anyone have questions.
yeah,
We'll
yeah,
happily answer any questions.
yeah, definitely. If you have questions, what would be the best way for?
Email.
Okay.
I think they can email you guys, and then on the CLS, like underneath it, we can send our emails there too. If
Okay.
you have questions.